All right, everyone. Your host, Cy Smith, coming to you on a economic uh, blue Saturday, Youth Day. You guys want to start. This is a bonus hour that I'm going to be presenting to you guys. Uh, and I'm going to take this bonus 5 minutes and talk about um, the website. So I want you guys to be able to see this and tap in if you guys are able to. So, first and foremost, let me go through this website so you guys can see uh, what we have. We have something very special here with the National Block Club University's website. I've had people tell me that this is too hard to understand. So, with the audio, I'm going to just tell you guys if you just go to the website on your own, you're probably not going to understand what you're looking at. The makeup of the purpose of our website is not for external use per se. Uh, the purpose of the website is for storage and training more so than publicity and marketing. It's more so for storage and training. Um, we don't have to market for the work that we do. We go door to door. We have relationships with enough people that refer us. So if we never um, got a person off the internet, we'll be just fine because we know enough people. So when you see our website, you're going to see 40 pages that pretty much show you the work that we do. This is Birmingham. This is a video of being in Birmingham, Alabama. Show the compassionate side. I know one of my Gary leaders got on me about don't be showing only the bad side of my town. Show the good side. And I said I try to, you know what I mean, because I'm from here. You know, I try to show all sides no matter what. You know, I don't ever want to live in a side showing negative stuff. So as I said right here, let me go to another page. I want you guys to see. These are the pages that we have. So of course the home page, the donate page. Let's go to the donate page because that's the number one reason for this website is so that you can come here and you can donate. There's the most powerful button right there. Donate. This is how we stop crime. This is how we create opportunity for young people. This is how we support other non-for-profits. This is how we help our black businesses. That donate page right there is key. So I wanted to make sure you guys saw that. So let's go through the other pages here. We got 1 minute before we get started. So VIP sponsors is a big deal because these are personnel that's allowing us to pay for this whole operation. Every Monday being safety day, you're able to go there. If you go to this page, and when you're there, you're gonna see how many people have been shot and killed. You're gonna be able to read, unfortunately, who been shot, killed, the ages, where it happened at all over Black America there. So this is unfortunate. It should be updated, but of course, that boils down to the amount of donations that come in. But that's the safety page. You'll be able to go to the education page. When you come here, the money that we give away based on what grade, 10th graders, fifth graders, third graders, then you're able to see some of the young people as they are holding up their winnings because that's a big part of it. We want you guys to see young people winning, and so you see them holding up real cash. It's our version of a stimulus, putting money directly in the hands of our young people, and so that's all around education. I see it's time for us to get started here. Let me go real quick. This is Chicago. I'm gonna take 2 minutes though. Let me just take some time because I want you guys to see it. This is the once a month national summit. Last name's F through K, and I'm just getting started here. This is the opening. I'm getting started here with showing you guys the website itself. So I'm gonna come back to the Chicago page. Then at 3:05 Central Time, I'm gonna do the roll call by showing you guys the Chicago zip codes and what they're linked to. Team one is our business team. There's 8 teams. When you know what these 8 teams are, what that means is on your block, you'll know what category to put your neighbor who's a police officer or firefighter. Well, that's team three safety. Your neighbor who's a teacher, that's team four. By doing that, what you're ultimately doing is putting them in a format that will allow us to unite all of them together throughout the zip code, the block, throughout the city, and then of course across the nation. We're going to be stronger as a people when we have all these 8 teams identified block by block. Then you have Atlanta, you have Birmingham, Boston. When you click on the Atlanta page, this is for all of our Atlanta audience members. When they go here, they'll see some of the things we're doing in Atlanta. Here shows you a map of Atlanta. It's showing you the 20 neighborhoods and what we've asked each neighborhood to do so that they can interact with each other in a way that's consistent with what we're doing around America. That's Atlanta. We can go to, I was already at Birmingham. We can go to Detroit, Dallas. We can go to Gary, Indiana. We can go to LA, Memphis, Tennessee. Let's go to Memphis so you guys can see. When we get to Memphis, you're going to see the different team 3 dealing with police, firefighters, and military. You're going to see how we're structured and organized. That should be the same in every city. Every city, the same type of format. Memphis, big team 1, our barbershops. We got all barbershops linked to support 8th graders. Every third Monday, they meet. Then you got the beauty salons. They help all 4th graders. So as you can see, this website, you're not going to just go to this website and understand all this. This is something that will require one of our leaders to be able to walk you through so you can better understand what we're doing and why. You'll want to know why our daycare is linked to kindergartners and every Monday they meet. Why our funeral homes linked to 7th graders and every third Wednesday they meet. What are the external businesses owned by non-Black people in our community? So as you can see, this is just the Memphis page, but it's the same for every city. All right, so now we're at the 2-minute point. Let's go to Chicago because it's time to do the roll call for our February 27th F through K National Summit. So we have 20 zip codes, and these zip codes are the bedrock of what we do around the world. So every zip code is linked to a sister city, a country in Africa, and a career profession. So as you can see here, this is East Garfield Park, zip code 60623. Its main resource, if you will, is science and research. It's linked to Boston, Massachusetts. It's linked to Ghana. It's linked to Waukegan. And as you can see here, we can click right there and it says Chicago to Boston. I'm not expecting 60623 on today's National Summit. So let's move on to the next zip code, North Lawndale. As you can see here, North Lawndale's main resource is entertainment. It's linked to Los Angeles, California, Senegal in Africa, and North Chicago in Illinois. And this code, an algorithm code tells us several things. One of them is when they meet. They meet every first Tuesday of the month. You can see the link right there. We can click on that and it'll take us right to the LA page. I'm not expecting anyone from North Lawndale on today as well. Then we have Garfield Park. So as you see here, Garfield Park is linked to the main resource is police and firefighters, military as well. It's linked to Atlanta, Georgia. It's linked to Sierra Leone. It's linked to Great Lakes, Illinois. And every second Tuesday of the month they meet. You can click that button right there and go straight to that that city. North Austin, zip code 60639. It's linked to all poets and seamstress and journalists. It is also linked to Memphis, Tennessee. Its global partner is Nigeria. And all people in Highland Park, Illinois, Michael Jordan has a home there. Is all linked to this here, 60639 North Austin neighborhood. Its code is every third Sunday of the month. You can click that right there to go straight to the Memphis page. Then we have South Austin. South Austin is 60644 by zip code. It's linked to all lawyers and judges. It's linked to St. Louis, Missouri. It's linked to Côte d'Ivoire, or Ivory Coast as the colonizers called it. External site is Winnetka. The suburb is Winnetka, Illinois, one of the most wealthiest suburbs in America. Then we have the code YT4, which is the 4th Tuesday of the month they meet. We can click that link right there and then take us right to St. Louis. And the last one on the west side is West Humboldt Park. Some Black people love to call it North Garfield Park because it's more Black. Its main resource is chefs, caterers, and restaurants, food. Its sister city is Birmingham, Alabama, which I hope Leandria from Birmingham will be able to get on today. Its global partner is Western Sahara, that's near Morocco. Its external site, which is the suburb, is Kenilworth, another very wealthy, primarily white suburb in the north part of Illinois. Its algorithm is every first Sunday. We can click there and go straight to Birmingham. Let's move on. Roll call now to the south side of Chicago. New City. New City is zip code 60609. It's linked to all construction. So carpenters, bricklayers, plumbers, you name it. Team 5, we call it. Is linked to Detroit, Michigan. The global partner is Ethiopia, and its suburb is Aurora, Illinois. Brother Reven Fellows is key with Aurora. The Black Museum is there. Algorithm is every fourth Monday of the month. That's when they meet. And again, on the website, you can click to that link and it'll take you right there. Then we have 60620 zip code, led by Frances Newman. She's the governor of that zip code. We're not expecting her on as well. Pamela Dominguez is district leader. This zip code is linked to all veterinarians. This zip code is all things dealing with animals. Norfolk, Virginia is the sister city. Egypt in Africa is the country. Lisle, Illinois is the suburb, and every first Friday of the month they meet. As we keep going, Inglewood, 60621 is the zip code for Inglewood. It's linked to all engineers, technology, programmers, anything dealing with space and air. Its sister city is New York City, Sudan in Africa, and Hinsdale is the suburb. And as you can see here, every third Monday of the month is when they meet. And that's the link right there to New York City. Then we move on and we got Marquette Park. Marquette Park is 60629 zip code. It's linked to all business and entrepreneurs. Washington, D.C. is linked to Djibouti in Africa. Clarendon Hills is the suburb, and every second Monday of the month they meet. And we move on to West Inglewood. This is zip code 60636. It's linked to San Diego, California. All gardeners or farmers is linked to this zip code. Somalia is a sister African country, and Naperville is the suburb. And every first Monday of the month they meet. That's the link directly to San Diego's page. Then finally on the south side, we have the Ashburn neighborhood, zip code 60652. This zip code is linked to St. Paul, Minnesota. It deals with all politicians. Kenya in Africa is the African link. LaGrange, Illinois is the suburb, and they meet every second Saturday of the month. Okay, now we're on the east side. I'm gonna speed up because now I'm going into the good news report. So Washington Park is east side 60615 is linked to all travel agents, New Orleans, Congo in Africa, Bensonville. Every first Saturday they meet. Calumet Heights is zip code 60617. It's linked to all teachers, Kansas City, Missouri, Tanzania, Itasca, and every second Saturday of the month they meet. And we have Chatham is linked to all investigators, Philadelphia, Angola in Africa, River Grove, Illinois, and every second Wednesday of the month they meet. We have Roseland, 60628 zip code, linked to all nurses, pastors, and coaches. Dallas, Texas, South Africa, Schaumburg, Illinois, and every third Wednesday of the month they meet. Woodlawn, 60637 zip code is linked to all our creative people, designers, photographers, DJs, linked to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Zimbabwe, and Africa, Elgin, and every first Wednesday of the month they meet. Then we have Washington Heights, zip code 60643, linked to all doctors and dentists. It's linked to Cleveland, Ohio, Botswana in Africa, and it's linked to Bartlett, and every third Saturday of the month they meet. Then finally, we got two more, I'm sorry. We have 60649, which is the South Shore neighborhood, linked to all marketers and salespersons. That's today. It's linked to Miami, Florida, Zambia in Africa, Hanover Park, and every fourth Saturday of the month, which is today, it's 60649 in Miami. Last one, 60653, that's Bronzeville, is linked to all our clerical, authors, administrators, linked to Gary, Indiana, Nambia in Africa, Franklin Park, and then every fourth Wednesday of the month, that's when they meet. So now let me turn this off and turn this camera around so we can kick off this summit here, and you guys can see me directly as we get ready to do the real work and give you an update on what we've been doing for the last 30 days. This is every fourth Saturday of the month event that we do. And the reason why it's important that we do this event is so that you guys have an update on where your money is going, how your money is being used and spent. And when you see where your money is going, I think it gives you more confidence to release more money into the structure that you're having confidence in. And I hope that's what happens as a result of you being a part of supporting the work that we do around the world. So fasten your seatbelt. We we have a lot of information to share, so it's going to be a lot of info coming at you. The good news is it's recorded. It's running live on Facebook. It's running live on YouTube. So if you miss something, you'll be able to catch it later and write things down. This here eventually will be a really, really, really big deal for the world to see. We did have a sign made up. Our partners in Nigeria said, we wish the United States of America a happy summit, national summit. So what I wrote down for the good news, you guys, let me give you the agenda. So 3 o'clock to about 3:20, we talk about roll call, which we just did. Good news. We talk about our rural towns in Africa. Then at the 3:20 time frame till 3:40, we talk about safety and youth. Then from 3:40 to about 4 o'clock, we talk about economics and construction. Then from 4 o'clock to 4:15, 4:20, we talk about education and food. Then 4:20 to about 4:30, we talk about policy and legal. Then we, from 4:40 to 5 o'clock, we talk about whatever you guys come up with, type up comments, get to me. We talk about the Gary, Indiana conventions, why that matters so much. We talk about the next summit, and then I give thanks to you. That's a lot to cover, but it's 2 hours. 2 hours always go fast. There's breaks in between, and I'll stop accordingly and give you guys time to take a break as well, so you don't miss anything. So the good news is we have a financial backer that is consistent with our previous financial backers who respected the idea that we're going to alter Black society in increments of $5,000. And I would say this to people who would be quick to dismiss that. Until you know our story, till you know our history, be careful, be slow to dismiss the reason we feel we're going to alter Black society in increments of 5K. Historical news journals, African American historical news journals is our latest big sponsor. These journals, and I'm going to show you guys the book here, is tremendously impactful. This is what the front page, the cover looks like. African American historical news journals. I'm gonna open up a few pages. I just want you guys to know what's inside. It's a bunch of articles, you guys. Each of these articles highlight what our people have gone through, what we've endured, page after page, going all the way back from 1790. That's the bibliography page. No, you don't care about that part. But going back from the 1790s all the way to 1900s, articles featuring things that we've done, contributions that we've made to society that we just don't get credit for. And now with the distribution of these books, we're going to be able to get the message out to our people, and we go work with our Team 6 personnel, which is race relations, to get it in the hands of the white community, the Hispanic community, all communities, because this is American history. This is global history as well. We are going to be financed through this project. The owner is putting up the $5,000 as an advance. We get $10 off each book sold. So we want to see in every zip code 50 books being sold. That's 4 blocks, you know, or we can do more than that. But the point is to get to a place where people are buying these and getting their family and friends to buy these, and that money is going to allow us to turn our city and nation around, because these books are for sale all around the world. So that's a big deal. African American News Journal. We also are in our second month of the Gary, Indiana conventions. The Gary, Indiana conventions are a big deal. It is a big deal. And so today, earlier, I got the shirt on here, Gary, Indiana. This is the fishing February. You can see the February 26th through the 28th. It's the fishing convention. You guys can't see fishing. There it is right there. Um, and the shirts are going to be on the website for purchase after the fact. You can buy it whenever. And the reason we're in the $15 shirts, the reason we want to do this is so that we can circulate money to entrepreneurs that are associated to these conventions. So that's big news for us. The conventions this month is the history convention. We did it already. Black History Convention, the entrepreneurs convention, the photographers convention. Then today, this weekend is the fishing convention. And last month we had the auto mechanics convention, the farmers convention, the missing persons summit, 3-day summit, and the pet convention. So each one of these conventions should, in your neighborhood, in your city, allow you to meet people on your block, have a conversation with the people on your block, and help them to get more involved in what they care about, not in what we care about. And that's what I love the most. From Miami to Detroit to St. Louis, these conventions are in Gary, Indiana, because we want to be able to have people get excited about coming together all over the country. Okay, so let me. That's the good news I wanted to share here. The rest of it will come up in subjects. I'm gonna take a pause so we can then come back and get with the rule. We're gonna deal with the rule news. All right, everyone. So we're at the 3:18 hour. At 3:20, we're supposed to talk about violence. So let me just get this out. Rural Town Report, Mississippi, MIGI, MIGI stands for Mississippi, Illinois, Georgia, and Indiana. MIGI is important for the Black movement around the world because Georgia is the second largest Black population in America outside of Mississippi and Louisiana. So it's 31% Black, and that's a big deal for us. That's why Georgia is a part of it. Mississippi is the blackest state in the union at almost 40%. And then Illinois is important because of Chicago. Indiana is important because of Gary. So MIGI is important. We also have in the South, that's where majority Blacks are. Mr. Childs has a farm that he focuses on collard greens, but he has some of everything on his farm. He's in Utah, Alabama. I checked in with him this month. He's doing well. We're going to start, because he doesn't have no electronic ways of receiving money. We're going to start cycling money down there to support him. So you'll hear me at the 4 o'clock time frame when it's time to talk about hunger, talk more about him. But our elder is still alive and kicking right now. COVID haven't touched him in that Black little town he's in. We also got Mississippi, Mount Bayou. This is Black History Month. This month is over tomorrow. Mount Bayou been 133 years Black controlled. No other city, no other town in America has been Black run 5 years, let alone, 50 years, let alone double that, 133 years. It's a big deal, you guys. We're gonna convince someone down there in Mount Bayou to sell dirt, to go pick some dirt up, put it in a plastic bag and sell dirt. And we're gonna ask you to buy $1 dirt from our person in Mount Bayou. Whichever person we select to start that business up, you want a piece of history in your hand, in your house. And we're gonna hopefully be able to use that as a way of creating an economy for a young person in Mount Bayou, Mississippi, blackest town in America. All right, so let's get on to the 3:20 time frame, you guys. This is safety. This is safety and youth. And this is not a good report here. This is not a good report. Last month for safety, I kind of talked about. Last month I talked about the carjackings, and it appears that they haven't changed that much. So last month we talked about 100. Well, I'm not sure how many. They say 141, but that's way more. I don't know if that's a national number of carjackings, but either way it go, carjackings is skyrocketed. all over. We have expressway shootings and carjackings that have really gone up, and it's gone up, unfortunately, consistent in Black neighborhoods and urban sectors. You don't see that in rural sector as much. We see it in our communities, unfortunately, way too much. I'm gonna tell you the solution is lifestyle, which is habits, schedule, and network. It's what we see that we value. That's what forms our habits. It's our what we do with our time. That's our schedule, and it's our network, the people we around. Those three things, HSC and habit, schedule, network, is what National Block Club University is in constant state of battle with, because our people in this individualized society want to do their own thing and not be as considerate to the bigger picture of us as a culture. No one else has experienced what we're experiencing, but we haven't agreed yet to be coordinated. And that's the battle of our lifetime, is being coordinated. So let me put this out there. Under safety, we're going to talk about the violence levels. We're going to talk about missing persons and vacant buildings as well. We got a new brother we met out of Chicago, courtesy of Governor Erica and Chatham, who runs the martial arts, and they're doing patrols when it comes to dealing with the violence. So that's a big deal. Let me run these numbers to you guys, because this is bad. So Detroit, Michigan, for all our people in Detroit, 327 murders last year. Norfolk, Virginia, 48 murders last year. New York City, 447 murders last year. Washington, D.C., 198 murders last year. San Diego, 52 murders last year. The lowest murders in America from our 20 cities, St. Paul, Minnesota, 34 murders last year. We had 57 murders in Boston last year, up from 38 murders. So that's quite a new number of murders there. Atlanta, Georgia, 157 murders compared to 99 previously last year. Memphis, 332 murders, 200 the last year. Birmingham, Alabama, 122 murders compared to 110 murders last year. We've had New Orleans, 202 murders compared to 119 murders last year. Kansas City, Missouri, 269 murders compared to 151 the year before that. Philadelphia, 493 murders, second only to Chicago with the most murders, compared to 356 murders the previous year. Dallas, Texas, we had 251 murders compared to 210 murders the previous year. Milwaukee, a whopping 189 murders compared to 98 the year before that. In Miami, we have 272 murders compared to 81 murders the previous year. That is a big difference as well. Cleveland, 177 murders to 123 murders the previous year. Gary, Indiana, 54 murders compared to 57 murders the previous year. Gary, Indiana is the only city in our 20 city structure, 21 cities structure, that had murders go down. They went down by 3 murders, 57 in 2019 to 54, went down by 3. Chicago, the highest murder total in America, 761 murders to 508 the previous year. We went from 3,450 murders in our 21 cities to 5,053 murders, right? So I told you guys it was bad. I told you guys it was bad. I told you what I feel is the solution. You have to know that when we talk about crime, intent, capability, and opportunity, ICE, intent, ICO, intent, capability, opportunity. You need all 3 ingredients in order for crime to take place. And unfortunately, we see that happening. Here's a quick snapshot. And I know it's time to move on to missing persons here in a minute. We had on 78th and Muskegon at noon, triple shooting, 3 people shot. 18-year-old shot on the expressway, Eisenhower. That's in Chicago. Triple shooting, triple stabbing. The That was domestic, 44th and Wabash in Chicago. Triple shooting in Milwaukee, 1300 block of West Center in Milwaukee. That happened at where it happened on the 20th, which was last Saturday, and it happened at 1:49 in the morning. We had two people shot in Atlanta's Buckhead neighborhood on Peachtree Road. We had a 19-year-old man shot running away from the gunman in St. Louis at 1:20 in the morning. We had two killed in Miami. We had New Orleans man shot while standing on the street at 1:19 in the morning. St. Louis man shot to death in Dutchtown, inside of St. Louis, Missouri. Washington, D.C. has 17 murders so far this year. Birmingham has 15 murders so far this year. Chicago had 51 murders in January alone this year. Detroit teen shot after a fight on 8800 block of West Mac. In the 3 weeks in February alone, 141 people shot, 58 people killed. What I always like to do when we talk about violence in our city, in our communities, and people, I don't want people walking away feeling hopeless. So I'm gonna tell you, we had a solution. The solution is here. The solution is you agreeing to support circulating $12 a year. That's it. That's it. The hard work is done. The infrastructure is built. Now we have to finance it. This here is a statement, something we created over 10 years ago. Say, how do we stop violence in America? You see that? How do we stop violence in America? First, 8 things. First thing is you show strength in the neighbors. You show strength in the neighbors. Why is that number one? Because it's easy to focus on the bad, but when you strengthen the rest of it, you kind of put yourself in a winning position of the sour spot. So show strength in the neighbors. On a block of 100 people, if you got 10 guys on the corner, that's 10%. 90% not doing nothing about the 10% is the problem. You can point to the 10%, but it's the fact that majority of the people aren't doing nothing coordinated to deal with that. So focus on the strength of the neighbors. Whose birthday is it this month? Who's graduating with a nursing degree? Who's doing something? When you come together around something positive, it makes those in negative go somewhere. The darkness don't like the light, right? Focus on the good. Focus on the good. It's so easy to focus on bad, but it's 90% more good than bad. So focus on the good and build that up. Number three, increase residential interactions. The more you stay isolated on your block, the more power you give the criminals and the evildoers because they need you to be isolated. Number four, link to mainstream. Don't be sitting there isolated by yourself. Plug into the broader community. Plug into the networks that exist that's doing more constructive, positive things. It gives you more options, creates more dynamic areas for you. Number five, plan for the future. How many people just getting by day to day? Number five, allow us to say, hey, since we know it's 13 people birthday next month on our block, we go plan something. And that allows you. We know we got this fifth grader here that loves reading. We go plan for them to do something in the next 5 years. Plan for the future. Think ahead. It gives you something to live for. Number six, create and sustain functional institutions. Create and sustain functional institutions. What do I mean by that? When we buy black, when we support black business, we're helping not just get a product or service, but we're helping that black family have revenue to send that black child to college or to trade school. So they're not hanging out as one of the 10 people on the corner. So that is a way of creating sustainability, is supporting our own. Don't just get in the car and drive to the mall and leave that business that's in your community without revenue and they shut down and now the family goes down. So that's how I would look at that as well. Let me do this right here. Sorry about that. Number seven, increase access to resources. So often people covet resources, try and hold it on themselves. And what we're saying with number seven is increase, tell people about it. Increase access to information. Sometimes it's just one connection a person needs that can get them over the hump for that day. That's what we do every day, all day, is connect people together. So those the 8 things, the 8 pillars. We call the 8 pillars right there. I just read to you on changing our communities around. So I started out reading to you those homicide totals, which are horrible, but then I turned it around and gave you what we can do about that, what we can do to turn that around, because we think that's critical. Now, the last thing I say on the violence, then I'm gonna switch over to missing persons real quick, is we have 88 days before our biggest test of the year. 88 days before our biggest test of the year. Our biggest test is Memorial Day weekend. If we don't come together, get our act together between now and Memorial Day weekend, we're going to be hit with, unfortunately, murder totals that are consistent. Consistently, the murders are highest when people are coming out of hibernation of the spring and the winter. They're excited to be outside. And because of that behavior, lack of behavior modification, we know it can get ugly. We got 88 days before Friday, May 27th. 88 days. I'm asking you to donate your $12 to us today. Um, just so you know, $12 is the key. And the reason $12 is the key is because it's $1 a month. It's 48 quarters a year. It's something that we can, as a people, get in massive agreement with. $1 is not going to break the bank. It's not going to prevent you from being evicted. It's not going to do anything, but it can collectively in that scale give us millions of dollars to strategically rebuild our neighborhoods. There's four things that have to happen between now and 88 days. We need to massively refer our family and friends to me, to this organization. 312-405-8844. That's the phone number that I'm asking you to refer your people to. What they go do when I refer them to you? There's 108 different ways that they can be connected. They could be any of the things I named: a teacher, doctor, lawyer, nurse, judge. They can be a kindergarten, first grade, third grade, fifth grade, ninth grade. They could be a husband that want to start his own business. They could be, it's 108 different ways. What I'm saying to you and what I would suggest to you is to say, hey, I want you to be connected to this structure that's pulling Black people together all around the world. I'm just saying, give them 3 minutes to talk to you, and then you can close it out. Just do that. Don't try to explain to people what we do, because it's 108 different things. You say the wrong thing, they could say, nope, I'm not a part of that, and then walk away. What I'm saying is ask them to go on the strength of your name, confidence, and ask them to connect with us. So referrals. January to March is the referral season. Second quarter is April, May, and June. But we already know May is the first test, so we really only have April to train you. And the training is giving you the tools so that you can be strong enough that when you see certain things, you'll know how to react and respond. I know we got super smart people out there. What do you mean? I already know what to do. What I'm saying is, what you don't know is how we've built repositories and places for them guys hanging out in the corner. If one tell us he's in construction, we're going to link him to Detroit. One tells us he's into healthcare, we're going to link him to Cleveland. It tells they into marketing, we're going to link him to Miami. You wouldn't know that unless you went through the training. And this is part of the training. So you would know, as Harriet Tubman said in her dying bed, she said, I'm going to go and prepare a place for you, which is what Jesus said as well. So we've prepared places around the country for our people. The April, May, and June is when we'll train you on those 20 cities and what role they play. So when you're engaging our people, you will have a place for them that's already prepared. Third quarter is July, August, September. That's when we run the test. Summertime is the test. The murder numbers, the violence numbers are always highest in the summer. This is when all your training, knowing what the repositories are, will allow you to really get them young guys and girls that's hopeless out there moving around. Then the fourth quarter, which is October, November, December, we review what we did. If you're not constantly reviewing what you do, then you're probably not growing. Self-reflection is critical, and that's what we do in the fourth quarter, October, November, December. We review what we did, what we talked about, to see if people are ready to make the changes necessary, and if so, we roll with it. If not, we keep it moving. So lastly, let me switch gears here. Um, Condolences to the deputy in New Orleans that was shot to death last night, intervening in the security guard that was trying to keep someone from entering the basketball game in New Orleans. Security was trying to keep this man out. Deputy intervened, and the guy had a gun on him. He shot and killed the deputy. Um, as Black people, we know we allow the evildoers to make us hate all police. And the fact is, this brother lost his life uh, serving others. Gave his life, wasn't on the clock, but he still was in the line of duty of trying to create, make sure we had peace there. I want to ask our team three, which is our safety team, to consider that we start tracking all good incident occurrences where police are doing great, and that we build up our code YT2, which is Yellow Tuesday, Second Tuesday. That's our police day every month. And we need to have the good news, the good examples of police adding value to our lives. We understand too many police are silent in the midst of all the corruption and killing of our people. But let's make sure we're not one dimensional. Let's have a counter narrative other than the same narrative. And we're not asking everyone to do this, only team three people to do it. So if you're not passionate about team three, this isn't for you. You can stay in the lane that you're passionate about. This is for team three personnel. We want to do that. The counter narrative every July is our police appreciation month. This will allow us to know who we're appreciating in July. It's also the July convention for police. But we also are going to be looking at all the police departments doing internal audits for their own police and making sure that they're not members of white supremacist groups or any hateful groups that want to hurt other people. So the FBI is kind of doing that already. So we want to just follow that. And that's what Team 3 is being asked to do. Okay, missing persons. um, I wrote here that human trafficking is less hidden now than it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And part of that is because of technology. Social media is getting the word out. You can't hide as quickly as you used to be able to hide when it comes to human trafficking and missing persons. For those who don't know, Chicago's 60619 zip code is our headquarters for missing persons. Um, the best way of looking at that is um, Erica in Chicago is the leader for that zip code. Is linked to Philadelphia. That's the national headquarters for missing persons. Here are the blocks. There's 20 blocks in Chicago, one in every zip code, who's our lead blocks for missing persons. So when we get the word that someone is missing in Chicago, or we believe they're from Chicago, this is what we do. The 13th and Keeler area is on the West Coast. 64th and Bishop is for San Diego. 104th and Wabash is for Dallas, Texas. 48th and Ellis. These are all Chicago blocks, but these blocks are responsible to these U.S. cities. So 48th and Ellis is responsible for all Louisiana missing persons. 68th and Clyde is responsible for all missing persons out of Miami, Florida. Costner and Van Buren for all Georgia missing persons, or Atlanta. 900 block of North Avers handles all Birmingham missing persons. 1700 block of North Mayfield handles all Memphis missing persons. 500 block of North Latrobe handles all missing persons for St. Louis, Missouri. 84th and Essex, all missing persons for Kansas City. 80th and Tallman, all missing persons for St. Paul, Minnesota. 60th and Drexel, all missing persons for Milwaukee. 36th and Langley, all missing persons for Gary. 116th and Marshfield, all missing persons for Cleveland. 52nd and Bishop, all missing persons for Detroit. 92nd in Michigan, all missing persons for the headquarters, Philadelphia. 84th and Low, all missing persons for Norfolk. 68th and Campbell, all missing persons for DC. California and Wilcox, all missing persons for Boston. And 64th and Low, all missing persons for New York City. I don't expect that to make sense to you. People that live on that block might say, well, no one told me. Uh, the way we're structured and designed, we recognize that we might tell the whole block, and then tomorrow 3 people moved off the block, so 3 people moved on the block, and you won't know. So if one person on the block agreed to it, we just title it the block. It don't necessarily mean the whole entire block. So those blocks is someone who we're working with to help us keep the list of the missing persons in those other cities. Vacant buildings, last piece here. Our philosophy, and I'm gonna talk more about this under the economic development, is to get vacant buildings into ownership, get them on a tax roll, get our 15-year-olds in the pipeline of home ownership, and make sure that they know they'll be able to sell it and move it. So it's not something that's going to burden down a young person, because that's kind of what young people run against, is that I don't want to be tied down. We get that. We built a avenue for you to make sure you're not burdened down. So thank you guys for watching the opening, the roll call, the safety on the youth front, and then I'm gonna go into break on the youth front. This is what I want to tell you guys. The summer is coming. Children be out of school. If your child wants to travel to Chicago and Gary for the summer, we need to email or text me at 312-405-8844. If you're a young person want to spend the summer in Chicago, no guarantees. We can walk you through what that program looks like. We did do that a couple years back with a person in Georgia, came up, stayed with a family with a similar young person, and it went well. They earned some money. They enjoyed themselves. They broadened their view. So we want to open that up. We are targeting though people in Chattanooga public housing projects, Atlanta public housing projects, Argyle Garden. I have a list of public housing projects from Tom Brown Village in Birmingham, Liberty Square in Miami. That's who we're targeting. Robert Downey Homes in LA. That's who we're targeting. But we want anyone that want to participate to reach out to us as long as you're from our 20 cities or 20 zip codes. And we'll begin the process of trying to raise the money so you can do that. And if you are a family that's open to receiving the young person, we can start that screening too. COVID is real, so we got to take that into consideration. But that's our target, is the public housing sector. That's what we have for the youth. Every Saturday is Youth Day, which is today. So we ask that you spend some time loving on them young people. We'll be back. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about economics and construction. All right, everyone, your host, Cy Smith, coming back to you. Hopefully you guys was able to take a break and come back now for the second part, which is dealing with money. For those who don't know, and for those who probably never heard me speak, Blue Wednesday is our economic day. Every Wednesday is economic day. We concentrate on money. For those who know my background, I've worked in the corporate world. Sorry about that. We are running live, so that's what ended up happening here. So I got that muted now. So anyway, PIG is a way of making sure that you're aware of the economy. PIG, which is, of investing, protection, income, growth. That way your money is in a diverse way of a diverse portfolio. You got some for long-term growth, and then you got stuff for right now, income, and then you got some for liquid, just in case of emergency, 6 months worth of funding for anything that would cause you to be in an emergency. But for the sake of stopping the violence, we want to concentrate Wednesdays on spending money with our own kind. And what I always tell people when we talk about that is this country was built on the backs of free labor, Black people. So if you love this country, you hopefully you'll recognize that the reason it's powerful is because it got a head start. Free labor gives you a head start. And so Black people contributed to that. Our ancestors contributed to that. So when you think about Chinatown, Greek town, Little Italy, Germantown, Dutchtown, there's no Black town. We carved out a section in Chicago, 59th Street to 62nd Street, and from 63rd to 67th Street, all along the lines of 63rd Street is Blacktown, from California all the way back to the Dan Ryan Expressway. And every second Saturday of June, we walk all those blocks to reinforce that. So every Wednesday being economic day, us knowing we need a Black town that circulate money, we hold ourselves accountable by saying, name your 4 Black businesses. Since it's 4 Wednesdays a month, can you name 4 Black people you circulate money with? We think when we take personal responsibility to be able to name 4, at least we know we're on our way. I hear people all the time, do you buy Black? Yeah, I buy Black all the time. Hey, what was the last 4 last month? Oh man, I ain't do it last month. So this is asking you to recommit yourself to doing it. There's a new term you might want to write down called air purchases. Air purchases, because some people don't spend money like they used to. Some people are ashamed to send or spend money, little amounts of money, such as $5. And what I wanted to do with this Wednesday conversation is to relax you. Listen, sometimes when I'm not close to naming my 4 before the money's out, I just send $5 to a Black business and say I pick the products up down the line. That way, it's not a charitable gift. It's me purchasing some. That's why it's called air purchase. It's sent electronically to them, and we'll get it later. We'll reconcile it later. Because I know circulating is better than suffocating. As long as I get that money to them, they are a business. They're on the receiving end of revenue all the time. So this just adds to the pot. It allows them to make sure that they are as solvent as they can be, and they don't go out of business for lack of that circulation. And don't think $5 is nothing. You get 500 people send you $5. You get 1,000 people send you $5, and see how quickly that adds up. So $5 matter at the lowest end. So name your 4 is a concept of holding ourselves personally accountable to circulate money with each other. Name your 4. Hopefully you can name your 4. I also want to talk about the stimulus checks that are being released here. A lot of people are getting into real estate, and I think real estate is a bedrock of what we need to do as a people. However, I think we should be strategic about how we invest money. A lot of people, because of the way society is now, people are investing into stocks. And I think as Black people, again, we should be aware that a lot of these options out here is counter to Black people pooling their own money together. When you buy stocks, you're not putting money into Black-owned businesses, because it's not a lot of us in the stock market, companies in the stock market. So that means you're taking our money and you're putting it into ways of making money. And I get it. You want to win. So you can win on a few dollars and continue to see mayhem in the streets, or we can invest in our own startups and our own people. And so I wanted to just give a voice to that, because I really believe we should pay attention to the games that's played against us. A lot of these companies on the stock exchange are getting their natural resources from Africa, underpaying, or sometimes flat out just taking it from our continent. And then because you own shares, miniature shares to them, you're rooting for that company, even though that company is doing Africa wrong. That's just my perspective, but it's one that I've spent some time studying. We have on the construction part, Maria Pappas. She's the county assessor in Chicago, in Cook County. She's partnering with Bro Davis, a brother, Army veteran out of Chicago, business extraordinaire, with Black Housing Matters or Black Houses Matter project. And what this is, and I think around this nation, we should look at this. You shouldn't be losing your home for taxes. You pay for your home, it's yours. Now the government can come in and take your property. So I'm always against that. Erica Dunn, our leader, was working with LaShawn Ford, state rep, to get that passed that we don't take senior properties. I think it should be everyone because of taxes. There are other ways we can help fund the government other than taking people's properties for that. So anyway, Maria Pappas' Black Houses Matter is saying in a nutshell, so it's easy for you to digest this. If you don't know that you have these exemptions, let's say $2,000 worth of exemptions, and you for the last 5 years haven't capitalized on them because you didn't know about them, you got $10,000 worth of exemptions missed. But your house, because you fell on hard times, you owe $6,000 in back taxes, and they're about to sell your property. But the county assessor is doing, which makes sense, and it shows some compassion. Instead of just letting your house go on the sale, they're saying we're going to come to you and we're going to show you that you didn't know this information. You got 10,000 sitting here. You owe us 6,000. Let us do the exemption so you can get your 10,000. We're going to take our six that you do so we don't take your property. And now you walked away with 4,000 more in exemptions or in future exemptions. So I think I explained that right. I could be wrong. Ro Davis is the expert here. So the point is, this here shows government that cares, that they even attempting to do that. They could just let the process play out, take the homes. But the fact that 70% of these properties is Black Houses Matter is a perfect title for that. So I wanted to make sure Chicago was aware of it. We need to look at that from around the country. The tax sale, the Lake Commissioner sale in Gary, Lake County is happening here next month. So people are getting into real estate. I just hope that we get into real estate and be open to collaboration and not into demont, doing my own thing. So I wanted to speak on that. Then we got to talk about construction. Construction. So when you think about, and it's still the deep freeze of Dallas, and it shows what deregulation has done. It really exposed those people down there in Dallas trying to do their own thing, and a lot of people unnecessarily lost their life. And the deep Dallas freeze is unfortunate. I do think change is going to come to Dallas as a result of that, especially on the political front. So that's it's you take what good can come out of it, and the good that can come out of that is changes will be made for the future. So when we talk about construction projects, Pete Buttigieg was confirmed, so he's taken over, and he'll be the Department of Transportation, and he's going to really ramp up as they can. The president can get this bill passed, going to ramp up investing in infrastructure. Could be as high as $2 trillion investment in infrastructure. What worries me is, are we ready as Black people? Are we ready? Do we have a list of Black carpenters, bricklayers, plumbers, etc.? And if we had that list, we understand every day people are under 6 attacks. So did one of them attacks get through? Um, One of the issues is if you're running your own company, you need to have insurance, and insurance can cost. We have a situation that we're going to be proposing as we study it a little bit more, where the insurance companies have a monopoly, and if you are in trouble with one insurance company, they won't let you get insurance somewhere else. We want to look at that. We want to study that and propose possible changes legislatively to that, because just like a restaurant or a store, if you don't like the service, you get to go somewhere else, and don't let that bad experience cause you to not be able to have options. So we're going to look at that. And that's a big barrier when we talk about our carpenters, bricklayers, plumbers, them having to maintain insurance in order to do these projects. That's a big barrier. And we've been made aware of it more than once. So we're going to escalate that. And especially when we hearing society talk about reparations or talk about the wrong that's been done to Black people, sometimes this type of administrative burden is something that can be removed in order to help Black people. Because unfortunately, as this money is released, we're going to see every other ethnic group make money on this, and we're not in position yet. A shout out to Ina Jones out of Chicago. Her and Mr. Miller connected, didn't know each other, they got connected on some construction work. And so that's the type of networking we need to have, where we can trust referrals and feel good about it. Now, I think anyone that is in construction, your credibility is your name. Hopefully, you got an administration that calls people back because that's your name. And what National Block Club University want to do is we want to make certain that we start really trying to find out where our roofers are, our carpenters, our painters, plumbers. And every month we want to issue a report on each of those professions. How many roofers did we meet? What's the good news? What can we improve on? So I'm gonna be talking to our team 5, which is construction team, to put that list together every month, update it, so we can build that list for whenever Pete Buttigieg, Secretary Buttigieg is ready. We at least have some people we can say, here are some black people we should invest in, and push that. Every December is our conventions out of Gary, dealing with carpenters, plumbers, bricklayers. So we'll be asking again everyone we meet to prepare to come to these conventions to help build confidence up in Black construction. The Repair the Wrong Construction Act. Let me read that to you guys. Um, we had 3 minutes, so we had time. That's what it looks like. Repair the Wrong Construction Act. For the descendants of slaves. With the new Biden administration and a renewed focus on putting Americans back to work through infrastructure, to blacks in America, that means every other ethnic group except us. Why? Because our pipeline for construction is almost non-existent. What would the Biden administration do about this? Number one, acknowledge the government's role in black male plight. I think that's important. January 19th at the reflectory pool, Biden said, to heal, we must remember. This nation should look at, how did black men get in the shape that we're in? Were we born this way? That's important to acknowledge the government's role in that. Number two, review all institutional barriers erected by the government to create, to help get us in this boat. So we want to review all those institutional barriers and create things that can mitigate those barriers once you identify. That's things like nonviolent incarcerations with the X on your back. That's not having ID, now child support, loss of driving privileges for things non-safety related, housing restrictions, things like that. All these are barriers. Number three, evaluate all gatekeeping institutions to this affected population. Gatekeeping, people that stand in the way because they want to protect their status quo. Funding the same local institutions is a recipe for the same outcomes. Funding the same institutions is a recipe for the same outcomes. The federal government should attempt to innovate versus being traditional. Innovate, do outside the box instead of saying tradition, and reaching the affected population. Fourth and last thing is fund the Detroit Chicago project. Detroit Chicago. I started out telling you Detroit is the headquarters for all things dealing with trade, carpenters, bricklayers, plumbers. Chicago 60609 is the administrative headquarters for that. So that's why it's called the Detroit Chicago Project. This will ensure that recruitment, evaluation, and disbursement of resources can take place across all of urban America, at least the 20 cities we're in. That's what funding the Detroit Chicago Project would do. Okay, so that's takes us to the 5 o'clock hour. I told you guys, to the 4 o'clock hour. I told you guys time is moving. And so now we switch gears and we talk about education when I come back. So I'm gonna stop here, give you guys a chance to take a break, and then we're gonna come back and hit on education. Thank you. All right, everyone. Let me get back to it for everyone. We just finished talking about construction, and now we're moving into education. Every Tuesday is Education Day. Every Tuesday is Education Day. We're going to talk about education and hunger. We're going to have a conversation about food too. So let me get right to it. Excuse me. Last month, we had superstar 10th grader Amaya and Amani. Isn't that something? Amaya and Amani, who won the 10th grader award. They split $100, $50 a piece. And just so you guys know, every grade, kindergartner through 12th grade, is linked to one subject that we want to really concentrate on. And so we linked all of Africa, dealing with Africa, to 10th graders. So any competition that they partake in dealing with winning money with us is going to center around Africa. And so that's what they was able to concentrate on, Zambia. And they did quick, good research on Zambia and ended up winning. This month in February, we had our second grader, which is Sharita Broughton's daughter. She won $50 with as a second grader. So that was a big deal. And the second grade is a link to firefighters. We had a link to anglers, martial arts instructors, and all corner stores financially put money behind our second graders. Whereas last month in January, caterers, cell phone stores, Coast Guard, doctors, dentists, DJs, and HVAC personnel put money behind 10th graders. Now, when I say that, and some people heard me say that before, let me stress why that matters so much. When you're dealing with in destabilized environments, this is happening. Stuff is happening all around. And it's hard to be settled because there's so much stuff happening around you. What's important, excuse me, whenever you have that much volatility happening, what's important is to have some bases, some anchors, some things that you can revert back to. This is why those names, those professions tied to grades matter so much. If you someone that got relationships with all these professions, you can get money for graduation, etc. By all means, do you. But when you talk about all right, everyone, from what I was just informed, you guys couldn't hear a word I was saying. So let me go quicker and repeat. Last month we had 10th graders, Amaya and Amani won, split $100. 10th graders, they won. This month we had a second grader win $50 for the competition. I also talked about what was linked to each one of those grades. So we have second graders, all firefighters, anglers or fishermen, and martial arts instructors, along with corner store owners, convenience store owners, put money behind second graders. Then 10th graders have caterers, cellular store phone owners, Coast Guard, dentists, doctors, DJs, and HVAC technicians put money behind HVAC personnel. The reason that matters is because when you have a lot of stuff happening, which is what happens in those cities I named, all those violent homicides that took place, it's hard to focus when there's so much volatility going on around you. That's what those relationships being anchored does. It gives you stability. It gives you something you can count on, and so that's why that matters so much. And the fact that January, now in February, we've been able to keep money circulating to our young people for academic excellence is a good thing, and we want to grow that. We want to see that increase, not decrease. And so that's a really, really big deal. Now, because we do this every month, I don't want to go over all K through 12th grade, what linkages they are for every grade, since that's what we put money to. I told you what those professions were for those two grades. But I do want to just stress to you guys why, if we're not careful, what we're going to end up doing is having, for instance, barbershops being linked to eighth graders. We're going to end up having the barbers continue helping everyone. And when you help everyone, then you miss people. Or when you help everyone, you burn out and you don't have enough for everyone. So part of the system is to say to the barbers, we're in a shared environment. So if you could cover eighth graders, we got the beauticians covering fourth graders, we got the welders covering ninth graders, we got the military covering this grade. So now instead of you doing it all and disappointing some because you couldn't cover everyone, now we're in a shared space where whatever the career is linked to a grade, and then when they cover it, now there's more for everyone. More people can participate. So that's why I wanted to stress why that matters so much, to have 64 different career fields and professions linked to these kindergarten through 12th graders. And then the fact that it's the same whether you're in Detroit, St. Louis, Milwaukee, Detroit, barbers being linked to eighth graders, no matter where you are in the world. That's that gives confidence that this is something that can sustain and be there over the long haul. So let's talk about schools, because we at the 4 or 5 hours. So schools, this year, the focus was to make certain that we built stronger relationships with our colleges, because we want to increase the pipeline of young people being able to have access to those people who are taking the next step from their education standpoint. So building relationships with all these different colleges will allow us to be able to link our eighth graders and 12th graders and stuff like young people like that to the next level. Now, in particular, one of the big schools that we really want to try and target are our community colleges, because what ends up happening is a lot of our young people go away to the big colleges and end up unfortunately not finishing within the 4 year span and coming home and end up going to the community colleges anyway. And now they got this debt on their backs. If we target the community colleges, what we'll be able to do is to get them the layers of support that they're going to need when they do finish 2 years there and go off to the 4 year institutions. The other thing, especially with this new administration, is to make all community colleges free. I think the Department of Education is going to hit that out the park. So again, working with our 11th grade, 12th graders, getting them more ready to do go and continue to get additional skills. So the main piece with the schools is we're going to target community colleges more so. All right, the awards. You already heard me briefly talk about the second grader that won $50 this month. We have a couple other grades we're going to target this month. We still have some money we want to put in the hands of young people. So what I wanted to do right now was to talk about the awards. And there's a train of thought that we shouldn't give young people money. We should give them scholarships and gift cards. And I think it's a and, not a or. I don't think it's a or thing because um, you may not know that child's condition. You don't know if that child winning $50 meant that that household where that second grade is at, where that fifth grade is at, where that third grade is at, now they can eat another day. We don't know. What we do know is that unfortunately in our community, with all the volatility happening in our community, is sometimes moment to moment living. And so putting money into these neighborhoods matter. Now, here's what the challenge is, and this is where education comes in, that we got to make sure we had this conversation. um, if the people that we work with are valuing um, European centric stuff more than their African centric stuff, that can be a big problem. What do I mean by that? Volkswagen, a lot, Volkswagen, Mercedes Benz, Porsche, Lamborghini, all these are European cars. And there are people who say if it comes from Europe, it's better than America. So they don't look at the Buick, the Ford, the General Motors. They say, no, give me imported. There are people who feel like wine and liquor from Europe is better than wine and liquor made in America. There are people who feel like clothes made in Italy and France is better than clothes made here in America. There are people who feel like vacationing in Europe is better than vacation in Africa. Here's what I would say to you: the first law of nature is self-preservation. It's okay to love and support and do all of that stuff, but um, to love that more than yourself is violating the first law of nature, which is do for self. I respect a man that takes care of his own child, his biological child, and takes care of his stepchildren, and takes care of the godfather to others, because at least the natural or the organic or the original is anchored. Then why not bless others? And so I think when other ethnic groups look at black people and they see us loving Europe more than loving ourselves, it's a sort of lack of a lower degree of respect there, because you're not covering home base. You're not taking care of self-preservation first. And so I think when I think about the awards and people winning, if for instance you're winning and you're taking your winnings, which you got every right to do what you want with your money, but you're taking that money right to the non culturally sensitive people and giving it to them so that you can feel good, and they take the money and send their children to college and do well, you know, that says something. That says something. That can be a hole in our boat that would keep us just dipping water out, and we're not really seeing the boat stay afloat, because we're constantly letting in the very thing that's hurting us, which in this case is the exploitation of our dollar leaving us. So I wanted to make sure I push that under this awards piece, because the goal, big picture with National Black Code University, is that $4.8 million is what we want to be able to give away every year. That's the biggest action item, budget item out of our whole $12 million a year goal, is to give away 4.8 million. So this is going to be something we're going to stress, because again, if we're giving that money away and it's leaving our community, it's doing the opposite effect of what we want to do when we ask you for $12 a year. All right. So last piece is teachers. So for those who don't know, Kansas City, Missouri is our link to teachers. They're the national headquarters for the teaching. 60617 in Chicago is the zip code that is coordinating Kansas City, Missouri. So every summer, when summer break takes place, some of our teachers let us know how hard it becomes economically. So every summer we look at tutoring for pay, so we can pay teachers to tutor. We look at also the teachers fulfilling our remote. We call it block by block learning, which is uh, like a Easter egg hunt on the block, where on one side of the street are yard signs asking questions for that particular grade only, and across the street on the other side, the even number houses is the answer, and the young people go and compete and win, and that's where we need teachers at to continue that learning. We've done that in the past. We want to continue to do that, but just taking teaching and making sure that the teachers can earn some money in the summertime, and keep things sustainable and going. All right, so that's Kansas City, Missouri is the headquarters for that. 60617 is the main one. So I'm gonna turn it over now for another break. And when we come back, we're gonna be concentrating on government policy, and actually hunger. We gotta finish talking about hunger. So that'll be as soon as we come back. We'll talk about that. All right, thank you. All right, everyone. Your host, Cy Smith, coming to you, and I'm gonna take us all the way to um, the 4:40 time frame. That's when it's open session. So we're gonna talk about hunger, policy, and legal here now. So as I closed out, I was talking about the teachers and what we hope to do with the young teachers. The teachers convention is in April. So I wanted to just put that out there. April, we'll have the teachers represented. Okay, so hunger. Teachers and education is team 4. Hunger is team 7. All things dealing with food that treats our hunger. So when you look at food has been used as a weapon in the past, and it still today is used as a weapon. And so husbands might know that if you don't act right, the spouse might not prepare the food for you. Some people might say that's sexist that the men prepare the food too, and the man also can withhold food from the spouse if they mad about something. So that can go both ways. That can go both ways there. So anyway, I want to really emphasize farming over gardening. I was able to bring Cara Boyd on, which is the spouse of Mr. Boyd, who's legendary when it comes to fighting for us to be able to have grow our own food and feed ourselves. That's important that we do that. Minister Farrakhan, Nation of Islam, definitely believes in making certain that we can feed ourselves in our community. When we talk about food deserts, that's also a desert in our mind that we allow that to happen versus pooling together, growing our own food, things of that nature, reducing our dependency on those physical stores, especially when some of us got time on our hands, So, and even nationally, if we had the right networks in place, depending on the region where it grows, we can have certain purchase agreements to buy from that region that's still in their season. So we want to get to that place as a mature people that we have that type of network in place. So let me talk about Ena Jones. That's one of our superstars in Team 7. Ina is conscious about the organic growing of our own food. Pasha Galladay in Chicago. She's another person that focuses on the delivery of the food, making sure people have it. We got Jamal Altman on the west side of Chicago, making sure people get food. We got several people with churches that get food to our people. And what I would just say to everyone from that standpoint is we got to meet the needs of the people right then and there. I get that. But let's also not create a dependency model where they're always looking for that, or if you're getting grant money to do it, that we're going to always be looking for financial gain in order to do something we want people to be able to do for themselves. We have a lot of help with creating dependency where other people make money off of us, part of the exploitation. So this is global. The exploitation of us is global. The CFC, which is the Commercial Farmers Union, are seeking $9 billion in compensation. This is what they want to be paid for. And these are white farmers who want to get paid from the black African government for their farms. And so AfriForm is AFRIFORUM. You can Google them. They're a voice when it comes to the CFC, Commercial Farmers Union, and that voice isn't for us. So we need to pay attention to what's happening over there, because what's happening over there is the same spirit and connection that we're going through here with the exploitation of us in America. So we're asking Team 7 to support Zimbabwe, to make sure that Zimbabwe is able to work with South Africa, because South Africa is experiencing what Zimbabwe has already experienced when it comes to white farmers trying to justify taking land, maintaining land, and now being compensated for the land. And psychologically, when you start asking for $9 billion, what you're really doing is drawing a line in the sand, and what you're doing is changing the narrative and the conversation. You should be paying 9 billion in compensation, but you put it out there as you want to receive it. They chose 9 billion. They could have said 18 billion. Why did they choose 9 billion? And a lot of times you ask for more than what you know, because you're willing then to negotiate down. So I would say they would probably really think that maybe 1 billion is what they really should get. Think that they should get shouldn't get nothing. They should be paying. But my point is the CFC needs to hear from blacks in America on how we feel. And we got whites in America who support CFC, and we need to know who are those people who are supporting people who don't even live in who's not from the continent being over there taking land and making money off it. This is part of why Team 7 exists, is so that we can be organized around people who care about, in this case, food and growing. Agriculture is food, so this is why this is important, and it's consistent with our gardeners here in the U.S. We got white gardeners teaching blacks how to garden in inner cities all over the country. And again, that's what Team 6 is for, race relations. And what I always say, what I think is critical for the white society to do when it comes to black society in America is number one, put money into black people's hands. Now, people will say, well, what money go do? It's one of three things. One, the reason I say put the money there is because of the race, the structural and systemic racism. Money was taken out of our hands, free labor taken out of our hands. So putting it back allows for blacks to have something to work with. All right, you can have all the knowledge, skills you want, but without capital, it's hard to execute. So putting money, spending, buying black, that's one thing. The second thing to do is to not appear as leading, not appear as leading or being smarter or imperial or superior. So what I mean by that is we have a church that the pastor is white and this pastor is always leading black people. So what that does twofold is number one, it creates a public visual that black people must continue to be led by a white person. It's one. The implicit or the internal challenge with that is our younger people who minds aren't developed yet see that, and it makes them feel like white is always right. It allows them to feel like uh, it ain't right unless white people are leading. And for the white community who may not understand that, I go through this all the time. Black businesses go through this. We got a brother in Chicago. He has a white family on his website. I said, "Well, you black? Why you got a white family?" Because I don't want to scare my white customers, and I don't. And black people respect you more when it looks like it's white. So what I just said, this is a personal account from somebody. So we got work to do, but I think those three things. Number one, put money, circulate money with black people. Number two, don't appear to be leading, and number three, excuse me, is have that conversation with the people around you. A lot of times you may be open to working together as a coalition, but your great grandfather is still holding on to old thinking and old thought. So making certain that you're having that conversation with them will help the cause out as well. So the third thing is more internalization of making sure people know that God created everyone and no one is better than no one. So, all right, now we would have took a break, but we're not. We're gonna move right along um, and talk about policy and government. So with the new Biden administration, we go see what their policies are and where they're trying to go. One of the things we want to make sure we do is use our 8 teams. Teams one, business. Team two, accountability. Team three, safety. Team four, education. Team five, construction. Team six, race relations. Team seven, food. Team eight, legal. We want to use our time to get organized around these 8 teams, every single block all over the country, because that's going to put us in a more winning position when we are organized systematically and structured the same way, no matter where you are. It makes it easy if I'm Team 5 Chicago to go into Team 5 Detroit and plug into those also constructed minded people. So that's what we hope we can pull that off by getting organized that way. All right. So let me look at this. I gave you guys that report. So this is done and over with. Now, I'll give you guys this. So Mike Madigan, and he's was the longest serving politician in America, stepped down. This is a celebration, all celebrations. This guy been there since 1971. I was born in 1975. 4 years before I was born, he was there. He stepped down I believe a lot of it had to do with corruption. Illinois was listed as the most corrupt city. I mean, Illinois is listed as the third most corrupt state in the union, but Chicago is listed as the most corrupt city in America. And it makes sense, especially when I think about me leaving Chicago. A lot of it had to do with corruption and everything being the Democratic Party or nothing way. So Mike Madigan has stepped down. He was a state rep for the 22nd district, which is majority Hispanic. And here you got this Irishman in charge of a mainly Hispanic area for a long, long time. And so um, he appointed a young Hispanic guy and then asked for him to step down a couple of days later. Now there's a young Hispanic female in charge. And this is what I wanted to make sure that I stress to our people when we talk about policy, government, legal, is if this guy, Mike Madigan, who I feel has blood on his hands when he talks to black Illinoisans, if he's allowed to appoint someone, which he did two people in this case, he's not going to appoint his rival, which is something that is potentially a good thing to do. He's going to appoint someone who will continue down the protection of his assets, his connections, his relationships. And that's not good for us. We need to create a political system where whoever the opponent is have a more level playing field. And we're gonna work in this arena. We have to be careful because when you get into politics, you gotta have PACs created and the money flows differently when you have a political action committee. But we want to push that. And Texas is a key example. You know, Texas, all those politicians, one being caught trying to leave while their people are freezing, need to be held accountable. So we must organize and financially circulate when it comes to making sure the people we pay are being held accountable. So Texas is one example. Illinois, that's one example. The good news is the younger people are more aware of what's happening. So we that's going to help us with voter registration, which I'm going to talk about here shortly as well. Then we have in Illinois the criminal justice bill has passed and been signed by the Illinois governor already. And this, for the first country, the first city in this country, has a no cash bail clause in it. Uh, Cash bail probably started because of slavery. I'm not sure. I haven't done my research on that. But forcing people to have bail, you got bail bondsmen all around the country, especially here in the South, and that's their career is selling bonds so people can bail themselves out of jail. And that's just part of the old way of operating where blacks were on the bottom and continue to be, and people made money off it. So Illinois is the first state to do away with that. New Jersey has something similar, but it's a little bit different. This is more extreme, which is a good thing. And so kudos on the policy side. And all over this nation, they're decriminalizing marijuana. They're not doing enough to pay retribution to the people whose lives were totally disrupted, i.e., black people during that. But at least we're getting there. In St. Louis, we have a business because they're supporting a rival is now being shut down by the government because they're supporting someone that they didn't want. This is another example on why we need Team 8 to make certain that the politics stay out of the for-profit arena. We need to make sure that something is done around these lobbyists that get to have the voices of the ear of our politicians that you voted for and elected, not the lobbyists. So we got to limit money in government. This is the census year was last year, so this year they're going to be redistricting, and they're going to be carving out areas. And so we got to look at legally how we get the computer to do that, get it away from personal bias. Mike Madigan in Illinois was the king of that. He's the king. His picture should go next to that redistricting because him being in there that long, every 10 years is the census. So he probably saw the remapping and for 4 decades. We also have in Cleveland, Ohio, the elections is coming up this year. Birmingham, Alabama election is coming up in August. So that leads me to this conversation here of voter registration. voter registration. There's new laws on the books that allow 17-year-olds to get registered. So as soon as they turn 18, they flow in there. You can just Google search your city and state to see what is applicable to each of the different cities or states that you're in. But the bottom line is getting juniors and seniors to think about the power that they have in voting is critical. And so every month we're going to be asking 60652 in St. Paul, Minnesota, to give us a report on how many people we registered. Let's make certain that at least every month that we're pushing young people to get registered and helping answer any questions that they have on why it matters so much, especially in Georgia, where Stacey Abrams have been busy getting results. We want to make sure that the young people know why it matters to vote and we can get them on board. All right. So voter registration, we're going to start with reports so we can see our measure our progress as we move forward. All right. Then the laws on the books, we already talked about that with the criminal justice laws. And we're going to look at these laws dealing with antitrust, where we think the insurance companies are monopolizing and penalizing if you don't play ball according to the way they want you to play ball. All right, so we're at the 4:35 mark, which is in the middle before we get to open session. So I'm gonna go on a break here now, and then when we come back, we go open it up. So if you have any questions, just inbox me. We're gonna open it up, and then at 4:50 we go close it out with the Gary Conventions, its impact, and next month's summit. All right, thank you. All right, everyone. We are at the closing stretch here. Closing stretch. So I didn't get anyone's comments. Excuse me again. So I have more than enough to go over with you guys, and then we get to the convention. So let me first start out with uh we sitting here, you guys, as black people in this country. We sitting here on everything we need. And I always give the visual of God just putting his hands over his head, like, what more do you want me to do? I've given you everything you need, and you guys still won't pull it together and walk in the excellence and the greatness that I've called you to walk and execute on. That's how I feel, because 26 years I've been at this, and I've met so many people over these 26 years all over. And uh, it's like we're saying the same thing. Many of us are doing what we can, but the biggest challenge for us is not releasing money like that, letting the money be the barrier that hold us back. It's like a brand new car with no gas in it. So to me, that's a challenge for us. Now, listen at what we have here. I want you guys to hear this, and then you tell me what would be the reason not to circulate. We have pennies to Africa. Pennies, pennies. What's stopping us from pulling pennies together? Like really, pennies, pennies. The lowest of our economic system, pennies. What's stopping us from pulling 100 pennies together? That's $1. I'm not going to answer it. I just want to put this out there. We have pennies to Africa. We have nickels, the second lowest denomination in our money system. Nickels to support Mississippi. Mississippi is the poorest state in the union. So imagine us getting 20 nickels together, which is $1, and millions of us doing that. That could be $1 million going into the poor state in the union. That can have significant impact. What's stopping us from getting 20 nickels from people? That's part of the same thing I'm stressing to you, is our challenge as a people sitting on what God has created for us. We have dimes, third lowest amount in our economic system, 10 dimes. That's $1 going to your sister city. Now, I am going to talk about the sister city piece because I want y'all to know why this matters so much. The 10 dimes adds up. It adds up. And I'm going to tell you, it added up so much that this month, I didn't do the 10 dimes all over the country because last month it added up to $117. That's how much it added up to. The goal with 20 cities, if we got 10 people doing 10 dimes, that's $10 from each zip code. And then that means we can put $10 in every zip code, in every sister city. So this where $117 went last month. We had $10 go to Dallas, Texas. We had $10 go to New Orleans. We had $21 go to Miami. It was a mistake, but $21 went to Miami. $8 went to Atlanta. We had $15 go to St. Louis. $13 go to Gary. $20 go to Milwaukee. $10 went to Cleveland, and $10 went to Washington, D.C. In each of those places, it was supporting Black youth, or it was supporting Black economics, but it was $117 of the $200 we should have had. If we get 10 people in all 20 zip codes to do their 10 dimes, we had $200 a month to circulate to all 20 of our cities. All 20 cities would get $10. Let me tell you why that adds up and why that matters. We have people who told me that people in their own family haven't even supported them, and here we come with $10 to them, and it makes them feel more validated or valued. So that's how significant that is when we're circulating that money to these other cities like that. So that was $117 worth of dimes that went to support the U.S. city. Let's talk about Africa. In Africa, this is what happened last month in Africa. And again, why I didn't do it in February, because I said, wait a minute, man, we got to really get people doing this loose change. I can't take it off the top. We sent $100 to Africa out of the 200, 100 pennies program to Africa. Senegal got $31 altogether, American money. So that's like crazy exchange rate, way more with the exchange rate. Sierra Leone got $13 from us last month. $25 went to Angola in Africa last month. Kenya got $16 last month from us. And then we had Sudan for the first time ever. We was able to get money into Sudan. $15 went to Sudan. And Nigeria, Nigeria Signs is our company that makes signs for us. They get a flat $60 a month from us. So they get that no matter what, because they're essentially, we're paying for the signs that they make. So $100 went in charity to support our people in the continent. So $100 went for the 100 pennies program, and $117 went to the 10 dimes program for the sister cities. We sent nothing to Mississippi. Shame on us if no one supported the 20 nickels to Mississippi. What am I stressing here? What am I really saying? We talking loose change for global change. Your quarters stay in your zip code, just so you know. Loose change for global change. You're helping Africa. You're helping Mississippi. You're helping your sister city, and you're helping your own zip code. Loose change for global change. Now, what's stopping a million? It's 40 million of us here. What's stopping just a million of us from doing that? Loose change. And I'm gonna tell you, the only thing stopping us is upstairs. That's why I say I think guys like this, like I give you guys some. I don't know what else you want me to come down there and do it for you, because I've given you everything you need. So anyway, enough of that. Let's get back on point, so we can go over this next session of the summit here, and that's the Gary, Indiana conventions. The Gary, Indiana conventions. Why does the Gary, Indiana conventions matter? See my shirt, Gary, Indiana, and the convention. So when I look at this here, it has the date, which is this weekend date. It says fishing convention, fishing convention. These shirts, I also have the pet convention shirt. I got the missing person convention shirt, missing person summit shirt, and each of these shirts is part of our apparel division. Apparel. So the apparel division matters because this is manufacturing. While we didn't make this polyester shirt, the fact is we did make the shirt from a marketing standpoint. And that's jobs. If we, as we convince Black people to stop glorifying all things European, we can start apparel where we're putting our money into our own people's apparel, clothing lines. We get our celebrities to stop glorifying, again, all the external, then we can start glorifying our Black people that's manufacturing different apparel styles. That is key for us to do going forward. So Gary, Indiana conventions, this is my vision that is gonna, to me, just change the whole game for Blacks all over the country. For those who don't know, we live in Gary, Indiana during the summer. My family and I. We live in Georgia during the winter. The fact that I left corporate America 5 years ago on March 1st gives me that time flexibility to be able to navigate the two. But I'm working on building relationships all over so we can pool our money together and we can create, number one, remote jobs. We're going to create mobile jobs, remote jobs where you get paid being on the go. This is how I'm able to do what I do, is because I'm able to be on the go. And this is what we want everyone to be able to do, is be on the go and make money. We have to, because we love all things Europe. We had to be able to do like the Amish and do like the natives, and not be willing to part with all of our money to fit in and to be considered elite, to kind of not care about the outside world and to really internalize. This is going to allow us to reduce the cost of living. Let me say that again. When we're not glorifying all things Europe, it's going to reduce the cost of living. Because if we don't do that, you'll make the money and it'll leave immediately because your values is that you're better or elite if it's Europe. So we got to work on that. And to me, Gary, Indiana is key. We was in Miami earlier this month, and we saw in Miami that the housing costs in some of the violence-prone areas was still $1,500 a month. That's $18,000 a year, just rent. You can own something, and we got to push ownership, but we also got to help people get into ownership. And so our program of getting 15-year-olds in the pipeline, so in 3 years, 18, they got their first property. that's going to allow us to reduce housing costs. When we reduce housing costs, now you got more disposable income, and that disposable income then can be circulated with naming your four, circulating it in the black semi-closed economy. Now, if we're reducing the cost of living and you're not in this closed economy, you flooding the money to Europe, then you're not helping us, and it makes no sense for us to help you. So that's how that needs to work, because Gary, Indiana is the cheapest, most affordable housing in America, and Mississippi is the poorest state in the union. So between those two places where blacks are 8 out of 10 in Gary, and in Mississippi we almost 4 out of 10, it makes sense to invest in two places where we have the numbers. And this is why when I talked about during the economic hour, why I think the stock market should be a third or fourth tier for blacks to invest, because we should invest in ourselves. And I know people had bad experiences, but investing in Gary and investing in Mississippi is going to pay much broader dividends for us as a people. So I wanted to make sure I stress that Gary weekly conventions is key, because what people say about Gary when they talk about Gary, Indiana, is they say there's no jobs. That's what people are quick to say. Crime is high. It's bad schools. That's what people are quick to say. But think about everything I said on this F through K summit. I talked about us creating 64 professions linked to K through 12 graders. Why do that? So structurally, every kid, every grade is covered with an adult to be able to do that. So on that front, even if Gary schools are so-called bad, because of the 64 professions being linked to K through 12 graders, we're taking ownership to change education in Gary. That's one thing. In all 20 cities as well, but we're talking about Gary. Then they talk about crime. Well, guess what? When you create jobs, now people don't have as much time for crime. But it's not just jobs, it's black people creating the job. So now it's a pride, it's a values thing there. And how do we create jobs? By you being able to name your four, by you making certain that we get into real estate, so you got more money to put into naming your four black businesses. So because of that, we create that country, and we go into Gary, Indiana. So now Gary sits as headquarters for pulling people together from Miami, the bottom of America, to St. Paul, top of America, Boston, the eastern part of America, San Diego, the southern western part of America, pulling us together for the fishing convention today, the nursing convention for next week. This allows us to have people traveling. What travel does, it creates economies, tourism, dollars circulating. When people get done with the work, they want to have fun. So just imagine, Gary, that way, where you got every single week, 51 weeks of conventions. Think about the power of that. 50 every single weekend, people coming in. And these are different people. These aren't the same people coming. These are people coming from all over this country, and they coming so that they can learn from each other. They can learn. Our retirees helping the adults helping the youth. That's Ray. This is this is a game changer. This is a life changer. And then we helping everyone get into real estate beginning at the age of 15. So now when you stand in Gary, you stand at places that we own and control. You own and control. I'm telling y'all, I think God doing this. Like, wow, we got everything. We got everything we need. This can happen within a 30-day window if you release your $12 and tell everyone you know and create campaigns. Some people do their 12 and they say, well, I did it. Why I don't see the change? It has to be a groundswell. We need to say, I'm going to make sure that the people that love and support me know about this. Because if the people that love and support me know there's a convention for their profession, they go want to be a part of that. So my husband that's a carpenter need to know about the December carpentry convention. My wife that's a nurse need to know about the nurse convention. My child that want to be a scientist need to know about the scientist convention. So you're surrounded with what it takes for us to turn this whole thing around. So I'm I just had to put that out there. Now I want to go through the conventions real quick. Excuse me here, so you guys would know what's coming up and hopefully get as excited as I am about each of these upcoming conventions here. It's 51, so it's gonna take me a minute, but I'm gonna plow through it anyway. So we started off this year with the automotive convention of January 2nd. We went to the U.S. Farming Convention on January 9th. These are all Saturdays, but it's Friday arrival, Sunday departures. So Saturday is the main bread. That's why I'm going to talk about Saturday dates. We went to the 3-day summit for missing persons January 16th. The U.S. Pet Convention January 23rd, Saturday, January 23rd. Followed up with the Saturday, February 6th, Black History Convention. The Saturday, February 13th, U.S. Photographers Convention. The Saturday, February 20th, U.S. Entrepreneurs Convention. And today, February 27th, Saturday, Outdoor Fishing Convention. For each of those, you got Bass Pro, Cabela's, Dick's Sporting Goods. Eventually, they're going to know about us and they're going to become sponsors. So that's even more money coming to, in this case, Gary and all the cities they may sponsor. Dick's Sporting Goods might put up $50,000 so that the children from LA can come. You see what I'm saying? So this is a platform for us to really galvanize all over. Saturday, March 6th, the U.S. Nursing Convention. Saturday, March 13th, the U.S. Dentists and Doctors Convention. The U.S. And Africa Convention. That's Saturday, March 20th. The U.S. Science Convention, Saturday, March 27th. Then April is all about the young people. The U.S. K through 12th grade convention, Saturday, April 3rd. The U.S. 4th through 6th grade convention, Saturday, April 10th. The U.S. 7th through 8th grade convention, Saturday, April 17th. Then the U.S. High School Convention, Saturday, April 24th. Imagine all the colleges, once they get wind of this, wanting to be a part of that for the high schoolers. All right, moving right along, we have the U.S. Black Women Convention. That's Saturday, May 1st. Saturday, May 1st. U.S. Black Women Convention. Then we have the next Saturday, May 8th, the U.S. Landlords and Realtor Convention. Then Saturday, May 15th, we have the U.S. Landscaping Convention. That's snow removal too. Then Saturday, May 22nd, we have the U.S. Book Authors Convention. All right, that rounds out May. Then we have June. We have the U.S. Accounting Convention, Saturday, June 5th. Then we have the U.S. Graduates Convention, and that's just not 8th grade graduates, that's 12th grade graduates, college graduates, Saturday, June 12th. Then we have the U.S. Black Male Convention, Saturday, June 19th. Also June 19th for Black people too. Then we have the Air and Technical and Engineering Convention, Saturday, June 26th. That closes out the 4 conventions in June. Then in July, we get the U.S. Religion Convention. That's Saturday, June 3rd. That's important because 4th of July weekend is the most dangerous weekend. So we get a chance to have the religious leaders out there in our neighborhoods. Let me speed up. U.S. Police Convention, July 10th. U.S. Trucking Convention, July 17th. And the U.S. Lawyers Convention, July 23rd. U.S. Political Convention, August 7th. U.S. Military Convention, August 14th. U.S. Martial Arts and Boxing Convention, August 21st. U.S. Sales and Marketing Convention, August 28th. U.S. Firefighters Convention, September 4th. U.S. Barbers and Beautician Convention, September 11th. U.S. Poetry Convention, September 18th. U.S. Arts and Design Convention, September 26th. All of October is historical conventions. There's 5 elders. 1600 to 1699 convention. That's August 2nd. August 9th is the 1700s to 1799. August 16th is 1800s to 1899 convention. And August 23rd is 1900s to 1999 historical convention. Then we have in November, we had the U.S. Journalism Convention on November 6th. November 13th, we got the Restaurant Chefs and Caterers Convention. Then we got November 20th, we have the Sewing Convention. We got November 27th, the Homeless and Housing Convention. Then we close out the year with the December 4th Painters and Plumbers Convention. Then we got December 11th, the Carpenters, Electrician, HVAC, and Roofers Convention. Then the last convention of the year is December 18th, the Bricklayers and Welders Convention. Thank you. That was a lot. And this is gonna take Gary, Indiana to new heights. It's gonna impact every housing projects where Black people at all over this country, because that's what we targeting to come to these conventions and have us sponsors pay for that. And this is gonna allow Black people to get organized, come together, create an economy, get into real estate, get our 15 years involved. The next summit is Saturday, March 27th. It's the LMNO convention, National Convention. This was the F through K convention. So if your last name begins with the alphabets L, M, N, and O, we hope you would join us. Join me when we can conduct this convention 30 days from now. Be safe, be strong, peace.